Alright guys, this is my review of the A&K SVD. I just want to mention, first off, this is a spring rifle. It did not come with the wood kit. I believe you can find it online with a wood kit for an extra, probably about $50, and I believe you can buy a wood kit extra for about $65 and install it yourself. I believe, I did not install this myself. I did buy this secondhand from another user who was on my team, and he really liked the gun, and obviously liked it enough to buy a wood kit for it. And I guess this one did not really work on the gun too well, because he ended up like modifying it. He shaved down some of the wood, he put epoxy in there to hold some of the levers up, and it's on there pretty much for good now. So I don't complain, I don't need to take it off. But I'm just saying, if you guys want to put a wood kit on there, make sure you get the one that's made for this gun. It'll go on there a lot smoother. But the ones that come with composite grips, they're just as nice. They just don't look as, beautiful as real wood. Alright, so let's go with the gun. Alright, this is a Springer. It shoots about 470 feet per second with a .2 gram BB. I recommend you use somewhere anything heavier than .3, because anything below .3 is going to pretty much fly up, and it's not going to hit its target too easily, and you're not going to have a lot of range. Alright, so you have a metal butt plate. It's held to the butt with 2 Phillips head screws. This one has been finagled onto the wooden stock by the previous owner, and held with both epoxy and what was originally blue electrical tape. I turned it over to black electrical tape. It has a rear sling mount with a rolling cylinder on it for easier movement. The wooden stock has a thumb hole, just like the real SVD. You have a full metal receiver. You have a full metal receiver cover. You have a metal bolt handle, metal safety. That's the fire mode. That's safe. The magazine is plastic. It's a high cap. You guys know me that I absolutely detest high caps, and I really want to throw it in the trash, but it's the only magazine I have for the gun, so I can't do that. So right now I'm just trying to brainstorm ways to turn it into a low cap. Here you have your rear sight. It's a standard tangent sight. It is marked out to 1,200 meters. I don't think you'd hit anything at 1,200 meters with an SVD, whether it was real or not. But it's out there. It's a very optimistic setting, but you can adjust it all the way out to 1,200 meters. I see a lot of pictures online of a gun like this. You guys have obviously seen him, and this is obviously incorrect. There is no aperture to look through. It's just for maintenance to flip it forward, and then you can remove it. But and this is your tangent sight. Moving forward, you have a mock gas tube right here, which only goes to about here. It should continue through the foregrip, but this one doesn't have it. And then out here you have your barrel, and then you have your front sight and flash hider assemblies all in piece, held on by a 2mm Allen screw inside the bayonet lug. That's right, you can mount a standard AK-47, AKM, or AK-74 bayonet to this. For that matter, you'll probably also be able to fit any form of Chinese bayonet, anything that'll fit the Chinese Type 79 SVD copy. Anything you can think of that'll work on an SVD will probably work on this, short of internal parts. It is compatible with MTK-83 RAS rail system, the PSO-1 4x24 sight system, or the NSPU-3 night vision system, or any other Russian optics, Chinese optics, whatever that you can fit onto this rail. I recommend you buy, if you're trying to save money, this is the SEMA AK RAS mount. You get for about $25 off the website, and all you have to do is use the adjustment bar on the bottom. It'll clamp to this rail, you slide it back, and you swing the catch forward, and it'll lock it in place. I do have to mention that it will put the rail, as it's designed for an AK, it's going to put the rail too far over the center line. It's going to put the scope offset to the right, so you're going to have to compensate for that with your shots, or when adjusting the scope, or if you can somehow cock the scope a little bit to put it back in line. It's going to be tricky. I don't think they make an RS rail specifically for the SVD. I'm sure you could probably modify it somehow, and it shouldn't be a big problem. But you can mount any Weaver rail scope rings to that and put whatever kind of scope you want. Okay, that's pretty much it for externals. It's a Springer. It doesn't have any battery compartment, doesn't have anything like that. It's very reliable. You can use this rain, snow, whenever. It's not going to fail you. It's completely physically powered. You have to manually crank the bolt back. It'll lock behind a sear, and there's no reason why weather would ever stop that. Maintenance is a breeze on this gun. The only tool you need for basic disassembly is this. It's a 3mm Allen wrench. So what you need is get your 3mm Allen wrench, take your gun, you remove the magazine, check the chamber visually to inspect that it is indeed empty. Place your weapon off safe, point the muzzle in a safe direction, obviously make sure that the weapon is not cocked or loaded. Then leave it off safe. You don't need to, but I think it's easier later on. Take this catch, you swing it off this nub, swing it down. You can now remove the top of the receiver, put that down there. Alright, now move this down here so you can see what I'm doing. I hope. I don't want to drop the camera. Oh, don't drop the camera. Okay, so now you're going to take your 3mm Allen wrench. You're going to place it into 2 bolts in there on top of the recoil frame. What you're going to take this, so you're going to start breaking the bolts. You're going to take these bolts out. Try not to strip the bolts. They're, it's not a crappy gun, but they are made of Chinese metal. If you know what I mean, they will wear out very quickly. If you are trying to, crank them down, you're going to end up stripping them fast. So you need to, take care not to crank them down too far. I have yet to encounter any form of surface rust on this gun, other than the trigger guard, which is made of a different metal. But the body seems to be made out of a grayish metal. It seems that or has a really good primer on it underneath that is not rusting at all. So that's a good sign. It's not exactly crappy metal. Alright, so now that you have their bolts out, what I want you to do is take your thumb, place it behind the recoil frame. You're going to push it forward until it unlocks, lift it up out of its recess, and let it come back. And I want you to catch this spring, and don't let it escape. Obviously, you don't want to lose this. And this is your entire spring assembly. It is composed of a return spring right here, and this is your return spring guide, which is permanently attached to the receiver, to this frame. And then you have your main drive spring, which comes off. Underneath is your full metal spring guide, full metal spring bushing, which also comes off. You can obviously just see that this is all one piece of cast metal. It doesn't seem like it's going to break at all. It's actually a very nice, sturdy looking design. And make sure you keep this greased as well. Keep the spring clean. I need to clean mine off again. This gun can actually take a lot of abuse in terms of dirtiness. I've gotten with playing in sandy environments, you actually pick up a lot of dust and dirt inside the receiver, and it's very tolerant of it as long as you keep it clean, and it'll keep shooting all day if there's still some grit in it. Alright, now next step. You remove, this is your bolt, remove it from the cylinder. What you have is your bolt head, you have an O-ring behind it, and you have a, this is very dirty too, I need to clean this gun. You remove your bolt, and that's basically it. I mean, it's very simple. Inside you have your trigger steer, which you can see. When the trigger is pulled, it's going to bring this lever down, which is what catches the bolt. When you cock the gun, the bolt is held behind that notch, and when you pull that trigger, it's yanked down out of the way, and the bolt can be driven forward. It's a very simple mechanism. It's going to take a lot to break that. So if you guys aren't abusing it, it's going to last probably forever. So what you do is now you got to take the bolt, slide it all the way back. There's nothing to hold it. There's nothing to push it forward now. And now you can actually view. You guys don't really need to see it, but there's an air nozzle in there. And in front of this is, you can obviously see the full metal receiver, full metal rail guides. I am not sure how to remove this piece. I want to figure it out someday, but I'm probably not going to. Here is your hop-up assembly and chamber. You have a secondary O-ring right here to seal any air that may be escaping from your air nozzle. You have 2 Allen screws here and here. I don't know if you guys can see that. Here and here, and that basically holds this assembly together. This one in the middle, which is stripped, as you can see, is your hop-up adjustment screw, and it's a 1.5 millimeter Allen set screw, and it's been stripped by the previous owner, and I have no idea how I'm going to adjust the hop-up. Right now it's set for 0.36 gram BBs, and it shoots fairly well with 0.30s. I want to mention the hop-up rubber is very stiff, so what's going to happen is you can fire like one shot, and then the BB's going to nosedive, and if you fire another shot quickly after it, it's also going to nosedive, and the third shot's going to go perfectly straight. And then the fourth shot's going to go a little bit higher than perfectly straight, and the faster you keep shooting it, that rubber's going to keep breaking in, and by the 5th or 6th shot, it's going to be curving really far up. So what I try and do is fire my first shot almost to kind of get an idea of the wind or something, and just do a follow-up shot right after it, which usually goes pretty straight. And if I begin to fire more than 3 shots per minute, the rubber breaks in, and without being able to adjust the hop-up, I end up getting these shots that just curve right over it if I fire more than 3 shots a minute. You guys understand what I'm saying. A slow rate of fire is going to keep the hop-up consistent. If you kind of have these staggered shots, your hop-up rubber is going to kind of like break in, get soft, or then kind of like settle back to what it was, and you're going to have inconsistent accuracy. So the trick is just to be able to read your rubber and figure out where it's going to be shooting. And that's half the fun of sniping. As you can see, I snipe with iron sights. It's airsoft and it actually works out a lot better than trying to look through a scope because you don't get blindsided a lot. On a fun note, if you guys ever get backed into a corner with this gun, you can cock it multiple times. It's very unrealistic, but oh boy is it fun to put 9 shots in a big shotgun blast from an SVD into some really surprised sucker who thinks he can bum rush you. Alright, so reassembling the gun. You're going to take this bolt assembly, you're going to push it back forward. You're going to take your bolt, and you're going to make sure the O-ring and piston head area go in first. Insert it into your cylinder, slide it up to the front. Take your spring assembly, which I have right here. Give me a second. Pick this up. Insert your drive spring into the back of the piston, and insert the return spring into its slot on the top of the bolt. Then you're going to push it forward, and you're just going to click once, and that's going to click twice. You give it one more tap just to make sure, and you know it's seated. Now you take your bolts and you put them back in, and you got to find the hole with it. It's kind of tricky because they don't want to line up right away, so you just kind of jimmy it a little bit, and it'll drop the bolt heads into place. And then just very gently crank these back down. I recommend you go to a hardware store and find similar bolts made of a better material. Not that they're bad, but if you're going to be cranking this thing down to make it nice and tight and make it feel like it's really in there, heavier, heftier bolts would be nice. I actually prefer them. These seem like they're on the verge of stripping. It could just be from me and previous owners and multiple strippings, but field stripping, I mean, not stripping the bolt. You know what I mean. And after cranking these down, just make sure they're snug, and that's pretty much just assembly of the weapon. It came with a mock cheek piece. They tried to simulate rubber, they tried to simulate leather with vinyl. As you can see, it's a neat little piece mounted to pine wood base with a like a wire clamp underneath it. Basically, you place it on the stock here, put it into this notch here. This seems to be the best and most comfortable place for it for me, and fit it where you want in the stock. You can kind of choose the area for it to roll, and once it's in place, clamp that down, and it's there. It doesn't go anywhere. It's actually a really nice design. You can only really use this if you're using a scope. If you have this on here, you can't really use the rear sight, and you end up shooting way over your target. But it is very comfortable. I really wish I could use it with iron sights, but can't be done, so I'm going to remove this again. But just mentioning that this gun is very nice. It was a very nice buy, especially to get it secondhand, rather inexpensive. It's a lot of fun to shoot, even if your team is losing, even if you're being ganged up on. It just feels cool to walk through the woods with this. It's a really long gun. It's actually a little bit longer than an L96 or any other kind of airsoft sniper rifle. Those bolt-action sniper rifles that you see that aren't gas, that are spring, also have a barrel that starts like here on the gun. So you actually have a much longer barrel than any bolt-action rifle that's out there, in a much simpler system that's easier to maintain. It's a lot of fun to shoot. I really recommend you guys get one. You can get them for about $80 overseas. They're harder to find, but they are out there. And I recommend you get them if you're trying to get into sniping, because you don't have to really be a good shot with it. You can just kind of keep pumping rounds out. It is a high-capacity magazine, and I hate that, but I deal with it, and it's just great to own an SVD. So, just telling you guys one more time, get one. I enjoy mine. No reason why you shouldn't enjoy yours.